In 1977, a single factory in the West Midlands of England was producing 250,000 turntables every week. Not every year, not every month. Every week. The company was Birmingham Sound Reproducers, called BSR, and at its peak it controlled 87% of the entire global market for record changers. Nearly every console stereo, every shelf system, every department store record player sold anywhere in the world contained a turntable that came out of one British factory. 8 years later, in 1985, that company was dissolved, liquidated, gone. The compact disc had arrived, and an industry that had taken 70 years to build collapsed in less than a decade. BSR was not alone. This is the story of 5 turntable brands that built the way the world listened to music, and that the CD erased almost completely. Number 1 is Dual. The Dual Company was founded in 1907 in the town of St. Georgen, deep in the Black Forest of Germany, by 2 brothers named Christian and Joseph Steidinger. They started as a precision parts maker for clockwork and gramophones. By 1927, they had invented the dual motor, a hybrid power system that allowed a gramophone to run on either electricity or a hand-cranked spring. That dual-mode design gave the company its name. After the Second World War, Dual became the largest turntable manufacturer in all of Europe. At its peak, the company employed over 3,000 people across multiple factories. The Dual 1019, released in the late 1960s, was the best-selling premium turntable in the world. The Sees 505, released in the early 1980s, became a benchmark for affordable hi-fi. But in the 1970s, Japanese turntables started flooding the European market. They were cheaper. They were more modern. They had features that Dual could not match without retooling its production lines. The Black Forest factory was running on equipment that had not been updated in decades. In 1982, Dual went bankrupt. The company was sold to Thomson SA, the French electronics conglomerate. In 1988, it was sold again to Schneider Rundfunkwerke, a German company that also went bankrupt in 2001. The Dual name was then licensed to multiple unrelated companies. A Chinese conglomerate, TCL Holdings, bought the brand rights for the American market. A Korean company called Namsung Electronics now sells car stereos under the Dual name in the United States. A small German company called Alfred Fehrenbacher continues to make actual Dual turntables in the original Black Forest factory. But the company that once employed 3,000 engineers is now a workshop. The brand still exists. The company is gone. Number 2 is Garrard. Garrard was founded in 1915 in Swindon, England, as a wartime engineering subsidiary of Garrard & Company, the British Royal Jeweller. After the First World War, the engineering division needed a new business. It chose to make gramophone motors. By the 1930s, Garrard was supplying audio equipment to the BBC. In 1954, Garrard introduced the model 301 transcription turntable. The 301 was a high-torque idler drive design built to professional broadcast standards. It used a heavy cast aluminum chassis, a precision idler wheel, and a powerful electric motor that could bring the platter up to speed faster than any belt drive turntable on the market. Approximately 65,000 units were sold between 1954 and 1965, with another model called the 401 staying in production until 1976. Then the Japanese arrived. Garrard's parent company, Plessey, refused to invest in modern manufacturing equipment. The Swindon factory was stuck in the 1950s while Japanese factories built their turntables on new machinery with tighter tolerances and lower costs. In 1979, Plessey sold Garrard to Gradiente Electronics of Brazil for £1 million. Production moved to Manaus. The Swindon engineering operation was reduced to a skeleton crew and finally shut down in 1992. Then, something strange happened. Audiophiles in Japan, who had been quietly buying up vintage Garrard 301s for years and shipping them home, started a global cult around the idler drive turntable. Working 301s now regularly sell for $5,000 on the resale market. Restored versions sell for $10,000 to $20,000. In 2018, a British company called SME bought the Garrard brand and relaunched the 301 as a new product, hand-built and priced at around $50,000. The factory in Swindon, where most of the originals were made, has been closed for over 30 years. Number 3 is Thorens. If Garrard was British and Dual was German, Thorens was Swiss. Founded in 1883 by Hermann Thorens in the village of St. Croix, the company started by making music boxes and clock mechanisms. By the 1950s, Thorens had become one of the most respected turntable manufacturers in the world. The Thorens TD-124, released in 1957, is considered by many audiophiles to be one of the greatest turntables ever made. It used a hybrid belt and idler drive that combined the speed stability of idler drive with the low rumble of belt drive. BBC engineers used TD-124s in broadcast applications. Recording studios used them for transfer work. But Thorens, like Dual and Garrard, could not survive the Japanese assault. The company moved manufacturing from Switzerland to Germany in the 1960s, then went through multiple ownership changes. It declared insolvency in 1996. The brand was acquired by a German company called Syntron, which still makes turntables under the Thorens name. They are well-regarded products. But the original company that produced the TD-124 has been gone for nearly 30 years. Number 4 is Micro Seiki. While European companies were collapsing under Japanese competition, one Japanese company was making turntables so expensive that even other Japanese audiophiles could barely afford them. Micro Seiki was founded in 1961 in Saitama, Japan, and it specialized in massive, over-engineered turntables that pushed the limits of what was mechanically possible. The Micro Seiki SX-8000, released in the late 1970s, weighed over 100 pounds and used an air-bearing platter and a separate motor unit that was driven by a string. A literal piece of string. The string drive isolated the platter from any vibration the motor produced. The flagship SX-5000, introduced shortly after, used a vacuum hold-down system that pulled the record flat against the platter using suction. Working Micro Seiki turntables now sell for $10,000 to $30,000 on the used market. Some rare flagship models sell for more than $50,000. But the company stopped producing turntables in 1995. The market for ultra-high-end analog playback had collapsed with the rise of the compact disc, and Micro Seiki could not pivot fast enough to survive. The company was dissolved. There has been no revival. Micro Seiki turntables are now museum pieces, with surviving units being passed between collectors and occasionally appearing at high-end audio shows where their owners stand guard against curious hands. Number 5 is Birmingham Sound Reproducers. BSR was founded in 1932 by a Scottish engineer named Daniel MacLean MacDonald, in a region of the West Midlands called the Black Country, which, despite the company's name, was not actually located inside the city of Birmingham. BSR did not make audiophile turntables. It made the turntable mechanisms that went inside the budget record players that millions of working-class British and American families actually bought. The Dansette record players that defined teenage bedrooms across the United Kingdom in the 1950s and the 1960s all used BSR turntables inside them. By 1977, BSR's factories were producing 250,000 turntable units every week, and the company held an 87% share of the global record changer market. 87%. Then the compact disc arrived. Within 5 years, the entire market for budget record players collapsed. Console stereos disappeared. Shelf systems pivoted to CD players. The companies that had bought millions of BSR mechanisms every year suddenly bought none. In 1985, just 8 years after its peak, BSR was dissolved. The factories in Old Hill, Cradley, and Stourbridge closed. Thousands of workers lost their jobs. The company that had been the unseen engine of consumer record playing for over 30 years simply ceased to exist. There was no revival. There was no licensing arrangement. The brand was not preserved. The largest turntable manufacturer in human history was erased almost overnight, and most of the people who bought music on vinyl during the format's first golden age never even knew the name of the company that made the machine that played it. 5 companies, 5 different stories. 3 of them were European industrial giants that lost a war they did not know they were fighting against Japan. One was a Japanese specialist that died when the format it served stopped mattering. One was a British mass producer that had 87% of the market and was dissolved less than a decade later. What connects all of them is the compact disc. Not directly in the case of the European brands, but in the way the digital format hollowed out the entire market for analog playback equipment within a single decade. The vinyl revival has brought turntables back, but the companies that built the original golden age of analog playback are mostly gone. The names survive, the factories do not. Look at the turntable in your house if you still have one. Read the name on the front. Look it up. There is a good chance the company that made it sold the brand decades ago, that the factory where it was assembled has been closed since the 1990s, and that the people who designed it have not worked for that company in 30 years. The turntable still works, the music still plays, but the world that built it is gone.